All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Chasing Edges podcast. Got an absolute savage on the podcast today, Dustin Gut Check Myers. He's the co-owner of Old School Gym and Max Effort Muscle. We're shooting in their studio today. He's also the strength and conditioning coach for the Ohio RTC Regional Training Center for Olympians here at Ohio State University. So works with a lot of their Olympic wrestlers who we'll talk about on the podcast today. But the podcast starts talking about the dark place in conditioning, why you should do it, why you should pursue discomfort. Really cool conversation on some mental tricks, really the life perspective on why you should be capable. You know, I love the conversation on violence and peace. We dive into that thoroughly. And then we get into his world where wrestling, strength and conditioning, both in mindset and strength and conditioning, obviously, but it bleeds from training kids to training professional athletes, Olympians, and UFC fighters. Really fun conversation. And then that grows into questions, why you should ask questions, why you should stay around curious people. And these questions breed different levels of accountability. So what questions are you asking yourself? Who's in your head watching what you're doing every day? Are you being mindful or are you being mindless? Fun conversation. Hopefully you enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back. We got an absolute savage on the pod today. Dustin Gut Check Myers, welcome to the show.
What's up, man?
Easy, dude. I'm pumped to have you on just because we've done enough training together now and been a little bit into the dark places and the recovery modes where this should be a fun conversation. But the usual entry question is,
okay,
where are you chasing edges right now? Where are you curious? Where are you learning?
Well, really kind of the point I am in my life right now is I'm trying to simplify things and try to take, maybe kind of long-term visions that I've had for myself and my family and just try to make it the reality now. So this weekend you were out helping me build my sauna out there at my house. These are things that, I've been trying to kind of chase these ideas of the way I wanted my life to be. And I think there's so many times where we go, okay, well, I want to feel this way or I want to do these things, so I need to go on vacation and do it. Or I want to be able to experience this, so I need to go to yoga class 3 days a week and drive far to do it or whatever. I'm trying to take all these different things that I want to feel and experience on a daily basis, but have them right there in my house. So that's kind of the thing that I'm chasing right now.
Yeah, dude, that's dynamite.
Like the ultimate contentment.
Yeah, which is incredibly logical.
Right.
Because I have this bit too where it's just like, why would you not like build a life you want to live every day and then figure out how to make money on top of it? Like, I know it sounds really easy to say from an outsider's perspective, but that's why I think I'll always be in some level of the health and fitness industry, because that's going to keep me healthy, moving, living, learning, recovering, like all those kind of things. It's going to keep me in like, if you don't have your health, what do you have kind of deal. So that's part of the life I want to live. And then I'll learn how to make money on top of that, whether that's consulting, performance, breath, or podcasting or anything along those lines. But I think that's incredibly logical. But like, you have this playground you're building, which is going to be awesome. Outdoor training, outdoor sauna and ice with this incredible view over a ravine. Like you're doing it. What initially pushed you towards that?
I think it's just kind of the realization of I'm getting old.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm turning.
You're feeling it.
Yeah. So I turned 43 next month, and not that that's old by any means, but you get to a certain point in life where I'm like, okay, all of a sudden I blinked, and my kids are 10 and 12. My businesses have kind of matured to a certain point, and you start to realize like I'm in the second half. Like I'm not going to live forever. So all these things that I want to do or I want to have or the way I want my life to be, it's like I either need to find a way to make it happen now, or I'm going to be an old man thinking, man, maybe we need to go on vacation so I can go experience this or whatever. So that's really the thing, is just kind of, the realization of my own mortality and knowing that, the days are limited. There's only so many sunrises and sunsets that I'm going to get to see, and I want to be able to, enjoy them on my own terms.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm a big fan of getting eyes on the sunrise and sunset just to bookmark the day anyways. But the cool part of that is your age and the way you train and how you live. Like, obviously you actively pursued like doing hard work and training. Obviously it's part of your world. Like, you are a trainer. You're training savages of all ages. You're training kids to pro athletes and all these high Olympic competitors, all those kind of things too. At what point, like, cause like obviously at one point, I mean, I'm seeing it in my life, I'm 33 and a lot of my friends stop training or their body hurts or like getting back into it hurts. Like, did you just keep momentum rolling that whole time to like stay at this conditioning level? Have you found like kind of like themes to people dropping off or coming back? But like, you don't see a lot of people 43. Like, that's why I love you and G, like your lifestyle. Like, you guys are elite in what you do, like conditioning, dark places, those kind of things. Like, obviously you're yoked up too. And then G, like incredibly yoked, like incredibly strong. Like, you guys are doing this health and strength thing really well. So I want to try and unpack that a little bit. Like, like what do you feel in that world has been like your secret to success?
Well, I mean, man, there's really a lot to unpack
there. Yeah. General question, bad question, but
No, it's a great question. There's really, I mean, we could probably, even just piece this off and do individual episodes on each little thing. But I think when I think about, conditioning, there's a couple things. You talked about the athletes that I train, whether it's from youth athletes up to pro athletes or whatever. I think so. So if I really think back to when I first really started, training with elite athletes, this would have been, 2010-ish, 2010 to 2012, I was training Tommy Rollins for the Olympic trials. He was a legendary Ohio State wrestler. And then after that, I started actually working with all the guys down at the regional training center, Reese Humphrey, Angel Escobedo, all these guys that were the best of the best in the wrestling world. And as a strength coach, it's just like anything in coaching. If you're a football player and then a coach comes in with all these good credentials, you're going to, off the bat, have more respect for him because, okay, well, yeah, this guy has a Super Bowl ring or whatever it is, regardless of what his coaching ability is, like right off the bat, you're going to have that respect. Well, with me, I'm not an elite athlete. I was a very average high school wrestler. Even from a strength standpoint, like I'm never going to be the strongest guy in the room or whatever. So I thought, the way I can get these elite guys to respect me is if I'm willing to do what I am going to make them do. Like if I do it alongside them, if I can suffer with them, then they have to at least respect what I'm doing and what I'm teaching. Right?
Yeah, no doubt.
And then the flip side of that is it gave me an incentive to say, like, all right, I'm going to challenge myself and get in the best shape of my life. I might not be an elite athlete, but I want to get to the condition of an elite athlete. I want to live my life the same way, have to focus on recovery, nutrition, these other things to, be able to perform at an elite level, even if I'm not the one actually performing, right? Yeah. So that was kind of where that started. Before that, I wrestled growing up. I did the bodybuilding thing for a long time. I did jiu-jitsu for a while in my 20s. I boxed competitively in my late 20s for a few years and did pretty good at that. But even then, I didn't like conditioning. I mean, I can still remember when my boxing coach would make me run. I hated it. And I remember it was just like a means to an end as far as like, okay, well, the more I do this, then the less tired I'll get. The less tired I get, the better my defense will be. The better my defense will be, the less I'll get punched in the face. And I would rather the pain of running than the pain of getting punched in the face, But I didn't really, at that time, I still didn't really enjoy it. So I don't know when, exactly that switch happened, but it would have been sometime around there when I started training down at Ohio State. And, I just started to really buy into that feeling of, if you can take yourself to the point where it's very uncomfortable, if you can get to the point where you're actually suffering through a workout and you're able to make it through it, then the light on the other side is very bright. And I think it really turns down the volume on other things in your life that might have seemed, hard or detrimental or whatever. And the example I would give to someone who's primarily a weightlifter is, if you don't lift weights and you don't pick things up that are heavy, then when you go to the grocery store, the grocery bags feel heavy. It feels hard. It feels like a chore. But if you're trained and you're, then those little like mundane physical tasks, they feel like nothing. Oh, I got to carry a ladder up the steps or whatever. It's like, you don't even really think about it because you're used to lifting heavy things. You're used to challenging yourself from a strength standpoint. Well, it's the same thing with conditioning, so now if I have to do something difficult, physically difficult, from a conditioning standpoint, my heart rate has to get up. If I have to chase someone down the road right now, or if I had to defend my family or whatever it is, like it's not going to feel that scary. Yeah.
It's a confidence builder.
It's a confidence thing. And I also think too, like, even going back to, the boxing thing, I think, when I was younger, I got in so many more fights before I was a trained fighter because you get into some type of confrontation with someone and it kicks in your adrenaline, you get mad or whatever. And then once I became like a good boxer and really a trained fighter where I'm actually fighting in the gym all the time, it's a lot harder to make me mad. Like, all right, if we're out somewhere and you're some guy comes up and you spill a drink on my foot, like I'm not worried about you physically. Like I'm used to beating someone up and getting beat up. So like, you might fly off the handle or whatever, and I'm going to be calm because I'm not worried about whatever it is you're going to do.
Yeah, I think that because I love the violence and the peace spectrum is how I kind of classify it, because in essence, like same in the weight room or same in conditioning, like if you exhaust yourself physically, like you're not going to take out any pent up energy or pent up anger and angst and all those kind of things on somebody else that like maybe you have that energy not tapped into, so it's going to go elsewhere. But so like you exhaust yourself on this end of the spectrum, so it actually makes you more peaceful or like or confident or capable. So like you're capable of more violence, but like that capability, like you obviously understand the responsibility of being able to hurt somebody. Doesn't mean, oh, I'm going to beat everybody up because I can. But like I think that confidence that comes from being able to protect yourself, protect your family, being in great shape, like all that stuff breeds peace, because granted it's violence, it's good health, it's all these things, but like at the other end of the spectrum, like when you know you're capable in those scenarios, you can keep your cool. And I think that people kind of slack on that. And I think just strength is the first step to it, because like obviously like I think more things in life happen that like require strength than require violence right now for the most part with how we live. But now, like the more I've gotten into any jiu-jitsu or I dabbled in some boxing, those kind of things with you, like it just breeds another level of capability, which breeds confidence, which now it's tough to disturb me. And I always say this bit is like, you can tell the size of somebody by the size of the things that disturb them. And like, that's what you're saying is like, now that you have this level of violence in your back pocket, now it takes a little more to piss you off. Instead of like the spill of the drink on the shoes, now maybe it is, oh, he physically assaulted me, I'll fight back.
Yeah, I think like unless like there's a direct threat to like my wife or kids, like it would be really hard to get me to punch someone now. Yeah. And I punched a lot of guys when I was younger, you know, and it didn't really take much then. But yeah, now like unless there's really like something that I can't avoid, or like there's someone like some type of active threat towards my family, like yeah, it's really not worth me breaking my hand against someone's face, you know? Yeah.
How do you see the conditioning level show up in that world?
You mean you're talking about in the fighting world? Or you're talking about just in the confidence
I'm just
world?
saying doing hard shit kind of concept, where it's like I know I can go to these places. So like, does it bleed into business? Does it bleed into, I don't know, mentoring kids or your family? Does it make quote unquote hard things easier in essence?
I think so. I think this is something that Coach Ryan and I used to always talk about, is that if you can go to the dark place in your training on a regular basis, like you're not scared of that same feeling, or the maybe even the thought of you might get to that same feeling in, whether it's in competition, whether we're talking about wrestling, boxing, or whatever. Because a lot of times people in competition, they hold back because they're worried, they're scared of getting tired. They're scared of fatigue, right? And if we know that, okay, I've been to this dark place where I've been totally fatigued, but I'm able to keep working, I'm able to keep going, I didn't die, I didn't have a heart attack, I didn't, my legs didn't fall off or whatever, then you become, you are confident in your abilities to be able to survive whatever the situation is. So whether we're talking about competition or training or even real life situations, you're almost twice my size, but if you had a heart attack right now and I had to throw you on my back and run you to Licking Memorial Hospital, I'm confident that I could do that.
I like those scenarios.
Yeah, so maybe that's an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I just feel like whatever happens, I'm going to be able to take care of myself.
Yeah, so when you're in those dark places, do you have like a tactic as far as like self-talk, or like, are you counting steps? Are you counting time? Like, how do you get through that and like the physical conditioning side?
Yeah, it really depends on, what it is. I do feel like one of the kind of addictive qualities of doing really hard conditioning is it's one of the only times where I feel like my mind is blank, to where I can kind of like, I don't know whether it's being in the zone or it's just
being present.
Yeah, being very pain. Yes, being present in the pain and the suffering. There's really something to be said for that, because we have so many things going on every day, business-wise, personal-wise. You got all these distractions. It's hard to really, to clear your head and to think clearly and really be cognizant of your breathing and the way your legs feel, and the wind and the way the sun's filtering through the clouds or whatever. But when you're suffering and your heart is really redlining, I feel like that's a place or a time when you can really get to that place. But I mean, there are tactics that I've used when it's something like a set thing, like, hey, I have to make it to the top of this hill or whatever. And remember, one of the first things I can remember doing when I would run these hard hill sprints is I would create this scenario in my head of like, Julie and the kids are at the top of the hill and something's wrong and I have to get there. I don't know what's wrong, but I have to get there to find out what has happened, And it sounds so dumb, but when you trick yourself into thinking these things, your engine will just keep going. It's the same thing as, weightlifters. They tell us lightweight.
Yeah.
The weight's not light. They know it's not light, but you're tricking your body into thinking that it's light so that it'll, perform at max capacity. Yeah, so same thing here. I know my kids are not at the top of the hill and they, they're in school or whatever, but I'm tricking my body into really just, emptying the tank.
No, I love that. That's how powerful the mind is. And like
the mind's so powerful.
And that's where like we shortcut, like the body's going to follow the mind. Usually it's the mind that quits first. Like you hear all the Goggins bits and all those kind of things on it. But truly, because I used to do the same thing. Like I'd be on kickoff in a game and be like, if I don't do this, my dad's going to die. Like they're going to cut his head off or something crazy like that. But like,
it sounds so silly now, but in the moment, it elicits a response from you.
Yeah, no doubt. Like even if say it's 3-5%, whatever, like I'll take every little edge I can get. Sure. And then like even in that realm, like there's versions of, I think it's called Masochism. I was talking to JJ Watt about this at some point where like you reach a level of conditioning or you reach a level of success where like you have to search out reasons to like get better, reasons to hone a different skill. And like that's a variant of that. Like you're trying to find like another way to push to the top or run another rep with max effort per se for the boys. Yeah. That's why I love because like that's what in essence what you're talking about when you entered the coaching world too, is you're showing that like you're showing the players, you're showing the kids and the clients, whatever, that like you are going to be that example. You're giving max effort. And that's one of the only things in your control is like your attitude and your effort. So if you can control that, like I think that's an easy way to win respect too. I think that's in pro sports too. If like you're trying really hard, you're trying to learn, you're doing all these things, like you get a lot more leash than the guy that's lax in the meeting rooms and the guy that doesn't run to the ball. Like, so like, that's where I think like the testament of like the blue collar work ethic and like controlling what you can in the world of effort and showing you care. Cause that's the same thing. Like if you didn't care, you're not going to be going through this dark place with the boys,
It's really the easiest thing to do is to try hard.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing. I shouldn't say easy. It's the simplest thing. It's the simplest concept. Just try your hardest. But it's also one of the, most difficult thing for people to do consistently is to give max effort. Whereas I look at it, it's just such a simple thing. Like, all right, if I'm not going to at least try hard at anything I'm going to do, then like, why am I even doing it?
Yeah. And so me and Nate Ebner talk about this a lot where like, if effort's the control, if I'm always giving max effort, it actually eliminates a lot of regret and a lot of those things. Cause like if you lost a game, but you gave max effort, you can solve the problem a little easier. But if you have to like go back and look at the game, like, or the training session, like, was I trying? Did I try really hard right here? Was that 100%? Was that 95%? Like life, and the same as like a relationship. Like, was I given max effort? Like, I don't know. And then so now like regrets pile up because like there's inconsistencies. It's not a control. Yeah, it's a variable.
I think it's a way better thing to be able to look back and to say, well, you know what? I just wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Or, they were better than me or whatever. That's way better than to say, you know what? Maybe if I'd have tried a little harder, or you know what? I didn't really give my all. I mean, that sounds bad.
Yeah, but that's also it does sound bad, but like like the brutal honesty there is like that max effort just makes it clear to say, yeah, he was better than me, or that person, like instead of like saying that person violated my trust, like really like I had bad judge of character, like it's all like a level of accountability. But just to backtrack real quick, because I don't want to gloss over this, the presence that comes with this max amount of effort, like this dark place, like I think it's really cool because like again, it's like the comfort crisis concept that like we don't realize how stagnant we're being. And then even with your standards of self, like your standard of self is here, and then you become like a day on the couch where you don't reach the standard. Like you have this like slow drift to failure. You have this slow I'm reading this book where it's called like satisficing, where like it's again, you just make these constant little micro adjustments to the standard and you slowly fall into this comfort, like this bad level of stagnation or plateauing. But once you find out that like actually in this discomfort and this hard training in the ice tub, like ice tubs could like literally like force meditation for me. Yeah, it's like you would think stress and pain and discomfort, but really like I'm at max peace. And it's the same concept when I'm doing something really hard, or like I'm like doing a puzzle or something that requires presence and focus. Like, dude, that's medicine. Like that's where like I can like, and it's like a runner's high. I don't run a lot. You run way more than I do, but like people pursue that. But like if you don't get there enough, like you're gonna lose that level of understanding of your own medication, I think.
No, I agree with that for sure. It's something that maybe for everyone it's something different. Maybe for me it's running, it's ice and sauna, it's whatever. For you, for some people, like you said, maybe it's putting together a puzzle or a crossword puzzle or whatever. But anything that you can do to kind of clear your mind and be present, I mean, it is medicine for the soul for sure. Dude,
it's even like reading a hard book. I've read a couple books on like endorphins, and then there's another one on dopamine, but there's like another one on the enzymes, and like way above my head. Mm-hmm. But like I'm in it because like I have to focus, or I have to Google stuff to like complete my understanding. It's just like that's another, just this discomfort actually breeds peace. And like I'm trying to figure out better ways to format the conversation on it or push people towards it, because whatever it is subjective. It's not just you got to run hard, you got to box, you got to do X, Y, and Z, you got to take all these supplements. No, like find your own level of discomfort that brings you enough peace to be a good human.
Yeah. I wonder if this is one of those things where I'll always kind of feel that way, and when I'm 80, I'm still going to be chasing discomfort.
Yeah.
I think that I will, but I don't know. Maybe there'll be a point where I'll be like, okay, like I still want to train, but I want to just feel like relaxing and enjoyable.
Yeah.
But I don't really foresee any type of scenario where I'm not going to want to do something hard. Maybe I'll be that guy who's 80, who's still doing these hard trail runs, and
Well, or like everything kind of evolves too, like where like I see like a lot of people that can't physically do X, Y, and Z, they still do whatever's enough to satisfy their soul per se. But like there's a level of like giving back in coaching where like I've seen you coach all age groups now, where like there's massive return there, where like you can learn and continually always be a better coach or give back to the world that gave to you and those kind of things. I think that's another way I've seen the people that I respect do it really well when when their body does break down to the point where you can't do that per se, but they still get that return, and they're still like in the environment, I guess.
So what do you think is more enjoyable or rewarding for you with the fire and ice? Because you're excellent at coaching it. So do you feel like you personally experiencing it, or when you get to share it with others? Because you've introduced me to a lot of it. Before that I would do sauna and stuff, but I didn't really understand any of the protocols, or I'd never done the contrasting. I mean, I brought a lot of my athletes over to you, and you're excellent at teaching it. And I can tell, like, when you are coaching guys through the breath work and stuff, it's a vibe and you're in that zone. So what do you think that part of it is more rewarding for you than when you actually experience it yourself? Or is it because then you get to do it with a group of guys and that's more enjoyable?
I mean, I like the community around it for sure, because like, especially like after you get past that like first session where you teach people the skills and the protocol and that kind of thing, then now it's a vibe. And like everybody's doing it, everybody's feeling better. Like I do like that community to it. And then like just the conversations that happen in the sauna too end up being fun and different. And then like you bring a bunch of different people into the world, like the fighters and the wrestlers, which I haven't had a lot of contact with before. So like that just, I mean, like I get a lot out of that personally, like selfishly. But when it comes to the medicine that it is as a whole, I definitely say I get more out of it sharing it. Especially to like the first time people that like I've done with some people like different anxieties and things like that, but then, or just different like sorenesses, injury levels, or what people just like chasing an edge. And more, it's kind of like the reframing of the brain that I like the most, is where like you see how scared they are, and then you see how much eventually they like it. Yeah. Like Nate that used to hate it, and then now he bugs me to do it. So like those kind of things, I like that, where it's like, and then especially some people have really bad relationships with water. So like just being in water in general spikes it, then cold on top of it, and seeing them beat that and go, like I like that a lot. And then just for me, it's like non-negotiable now. Like I know I do. It's like, one, it's necessary for the cold's necessary for my peace, but like I can get a lot of that out of like a 3-minute cold shower too. It's a better vibe in the cold, but it's just like another step up. But like I know for my body to be in tune and right, I do that once a week for sure, twice a week when I have the time or people are trying to do it, that kind of thing. But no, dude, I like sharing it, and then and it's not rocket surgery by any sense, but it just, you got to have the resources, and you got to have a like-minded folk that want to do uncomfortable things. And then the sauna, dude, the sauna is just fun. Like I'm pumped that you got yours about up and rolling too, just because now there's different variants of dark places in there. Because I don't know if you've done it here. Like you go sometimes 3 sets and those kind of things, but dummy in a bunch of like hour-long protocols and like the dark places you go in your head, and then learning about physiological control, because your heart rate will be going like 160 in there, it'll be pounding, and then you're breathing at like an 8 second in, 8 second out pace, and you start learning, because we're the only animal that can do that, is control our pace separate from our heartbeat. Like when they're dogs and lions and stuff, their heart rate gets up, their respiratory rate follows. So all that stuff is just like feel and fun for me. So like I just like the tools in general.
I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to like experimenting and trying some stuff, like contrasting the heat of the sauna with pool workouts. With one side of that running trail through the woods done, to be able to like run, sauna, ice, do all that stuff in one sitting.
Dude, you're gonna have an awesome playground, because like that, dude, the 30 acres, just running paired with the sauna, obviously great physiological benefits. Like the heat acclimatization that comes with that, nails. Like everybody, if you're doing hypertrophy work or any type of cardiovascular training, high intensity stuff, get in the sauna for 20-30 minutes after, preferably 180 plus, and see what happens in 2 weeks to a month. Do it 4 or 5 days a week, or however much you're training, and just see what happens to you, like more or less your endurance, but see what happens with your times too. Like the heat acclimatization actually like takes it longer for your body temperature to get up to that like burning point where like oxygen becomes the oxygen use becomes inefficient, because heat compromises the efficiency of that. Like it just, the cells working harder and that kind of thing. So that's just like one of the things I like playing with. But then like, dude, the pool is a whole nother world. Like when you start, so like you can actually work really, really hard in the pool, and you have these physiological benefits helping you. So like you have this nerve on your face that triggers your mammalian dive reflex. So when you get under the water, you're naturally having your heart rate pushed down. So now if you start working really hard in the water, and then you can play with all the CO2 tolerance stuff. But so now another thing, you can explode without impact landing on those things, which is great as you age, or great coming off an injury. But dude, the water makes everything just that much more fun. And then like now you can hit like ice and sauna in between pool sets or runs, and now you can just start like making these like complex fun systems where like it becomes a community, it becomes an environment. And Laird Hamilton and Gabby Reese out in LA, like they invited me to their house a few times, and seeing the culture and the community they have out there, like you can't not want to develop that in your own world. And like obviously they have like the LA culture where they have a lot of foot traffic, a lot of people changing, but they have like consistent people where they hold the standard, they set the standard. It's hard to get in there, but when you get in, like people support you. You have great conversations in the sauna. Everybody's working out hard. Like discomfort's the norm, discomfort's the standard. So it's people you want to be around, and it's thinkers. And I brought Harvey out there with me one time, and the guy who wrote Braveheart was like shooting the shit with us in the sauna, and he was getting out and grabs him, and like he basically says like they had this whole bit going, but he basically was saying like the people you have in the people in the pool right there, everybody else thinks they're crazy, but here they're not. Like they're the people that are going to change things, they're going to change the world kind of concept. So that culture like magnetized me, and now eventually like I want to build that myself, either here in Ohio or wherever I end up kind of deal. But like you now have the facility potentially to make that culture part of your day-to-day life, where you have people come to you, people know the standard, like you got to work hard or you're out. And then do you add like value to the conversation? Like, are you there learning? Are you there adding value? Like those kind of things. It gets really fun. And then, I mean, you already have a great community of people here, and a great culture of guys that you train with. So I'm excited for your facility too. So
yeah, it's going to be cool, man. I'm really excited to share with, you and all my training partners. But looking further down the road, you kind of talked about, whether it's you end up here, whether you're which of course my vote is for you to stay here in Ohio. But
for sure.
What do you see for yourself as far as like some type of retreat facility type thing? Like what do you picture in your future?
I've been working on the Hocking Hills bit to be a real thing. But as far as that, as a retreat space, again, it's like-minded people. They're looking to learn, train, grow. in the simplest form of things. So like ideally, like I have like a workout facility, some turf, access to a pool, and preferably in nature. And then after that, it's like the people adding value. So like I have my doctors, I have speakers, I have coaches, I have performance trainers, I have biohackers, I have those people. I just want to bring my people together and let everybody feed off each other. And if I can do that, and like if pro athletes can come get fixes, if it ends up being like ways to gain edges and all over the place, like if you can have somebody there spit and fire on supplements, why you should take this when, and then so kind of just complete the performance cycle of like recovery and training. So like that's kind of my world. I'm not going to be like there training people every day concept. Like that's why I like the retreat model. But yeah, like that's for right now, that's like a out in nature thing. That's like going to be like events and retreat space kind of thing. And then after that, if I can get that in this city or a city, that I end up in, that'd be ideal. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So it's just, the power of having like-minded people around you and people that like to train, ideas just kind of flow from that. Like that's why I love lifting with Anthony Schlegel. Like he says it himself, where like our best ideas come from the weight room or come from training. And maybe that's just because that's our world, but like you're also in a state where like you're doing hard things and you're kind of at peace, but then you're like thinking clear and solving problems in the pre-workout phase and the post-workout phase. Like, and then you have the community and the culture where like I think everybody needs social connection. I think everybody needs like people to vent to, people to learn from, people to mentor. Like you need these levels of relationships in your life. So basically, like you keep growing, you feed off people at your own level, and then you pull people up. And so now you have this constant model of people learning and growing and different perspectives. And that's where like I try not to identify with a lot of my quote unquote identities, like football player, whatever, my political, like all those things. Like I try and stay open-minded and listen and learn from as many people as possible, or not get chained to my supplement routine. And so like I get heavy on listening to Dr. Serrano, but I look for other opinions elsewhere. I'll listen to podcasts elsewhere, and then I'll test them. And eventually, like I learn and grow, and I share it with other people. And like I want a community like that, and I think everybody should. And it's kind of like me transitioning from football. My training was kind of up and down. Training by yourself is different than training with other people. And then I found the 4 a.m. crew here. So I found basically like a community. I found people that like train hard. They're passionate about the same thing. So, and I didn't know anything about powerlifting. So I learned, and now it's just like that community's evolved, and like that's pulled me into other powerlifters outside of here, trying to learn what they do and how they do it. And then it's just, your guys' network here is bananas too. So it's just like, I think people shortcut, because like people leave sports, and the number one thing people say they miss is the locker room and the guys or whatever it ends up being. But really, yeah, it's like, it's an accountable culture of people that you should have around you. And if you don't have that in your life, like seek it the fuck out. Like go do jujitsu, go rock climb. Like those were two things that were medicinal for me. Like, rock climbing is probably like the most present I've been. Just because like I'll go there and think I'm going to climb for an hour, and I climb for 3, and the time just flies because you're there solving problems, moving, body chest kind of deal, similar to jiu-jitsu. But like you have to actively push, and it's not technically discomfort, but it's new things, new people, new perspectives on repeat. And things are always going to change, but like find something in every moment, and then find people that push you. And I think that's like, it's not rocket surgery, but like people kind of sleep on that. And I see, like, again, like I'm not like, people get in their routines, or they get with their families and those kind of things. And it's tough to break routines, but like, can you wake up earlier? Can you make an hour of time to go do X, Y, and Z? Like those things I just try and push my people towards.
I think, something you touched on that I think is really important is, seeking and finding and having these different perspectives in your life. So being around, people that are well-rounded, that have different interests. I think it would just be a really, kind of boring existence if everything was really one-dimensional. Like you said, like if you're just, I'm this football player, and you fit all those stereotypes of like what a football player, what an NFL player is, or whatever. Yeah. I always use the contrast, for myself. Like, yeah, my hobbies are, boxing and gardening. Yeah. I like cooking and, running, hill sprints. So like these things that don't really seem like they match up, but it's because I'm interested in a lot of different things. And you're someone that definitely has a lot of like kind of varied interests. Some people would almost think of that as being like eccentric or something, but I think it's just having different perspectives, learning from different people, experiencing different things, different cultures. And you, just like in training, there's not just one way to lift weights. There's not just one way to train, even like with my athletes, I take little pieces from everywhere. I find this thing that works. I find that thing that works, whatever. And it's not a hodgepodge by any means, but there's so much good information. There's so many good things out there. So many things that can benefit you, that you're really limiting yourself if you're around a bunch of people that all think the same, a bunch of people that only do the same thing. Like maybe it's every Saturday, so we go to the bar and watch the game. Like, it doesn't mean that it's bad to go watch the game at the bar, but if that's what your life revolves around, then like you're really leading a boring life.
Yeah, I mean, know your echo chamber and know your perspective. So like, yeah, like if you're around the same people, you're gonna hear the same ideas a lot. Yeah, so at least insert one or two new people. But then like the identity thing, like, because like a lot of people will look at me and see football player, or athlete or whatever, and like I like the perspective where like you don't like go to the restaurant and eat the menu. You don't eat the words. You actually go there to experience the food. So like you need to like get past all these identities that you see people as, whether it's again religion, occupation, family, whatever it ends up being. Like enjoy and experience the person, learn, have open conversation, ask questions. Like my biggest thing is like you got to ask the right questions, like or ask questions in general, not like, how about this weather, or like, what do you do for a living?
I fucking hate that.
No,
how about this weather?
No, I hate it too. And like every now and then, like I'll catch myself like, oh, we got good weather, and I'll just start a conversation about it. Like I'll literally in the middle of the conversation go, check that. Like we're not talking about the weather. Like in that vein, like I listened to this really cool podcast the other day. It's Gabby Reese with I think his name's James Quick, but he wrote this book Limitless. But he has this whole part of his of the podcast and part of his book that like he basically explains that like the brain's like this massive deletion device where we take in millions and millions of bits of information every second of every day, like light, sound, like balance, all these kind of things. But our brain deletes the majority of it, except for the things that really just like keep us balanced, safe, like primal things. And then, so he basically said our brain keeps information that keeps us safe and the things we ask questions about. So questions are incredibly important. And then he makes the point where like everybody basically walks around with the relative like one or two questions that they always ask themselves. So like you need to figure out what your dominant questions are. And so if you keep those questions like in the front of your brain, you'll start seeing the answers concept. So, anyway, so like his like sister was asking him about like pug dogs and should she buy one or something like that. And all of a sudden he walks through the neighborhood and he sees 8 pug dogs that he never saw before, because like obviously you see what you focus on. So like I was like thinking through my questions, like what questions do I always ask myself? And so like one question was, what is your potential? Like that always pops up in my mind, and like it shows up like if I'm like being lazy, like what's your potential? This ain't helping your fucking potential. And then my other question's like, what the fuck are you doing, Brian? Which is in the same realm of that, where they don't have to be serious. Like I think one of his question was like, how do I make things better, or how do I make this better? He coaches Will Smith, and one of his questions is like, how do I make this moment more magical? Like, what are your questions? And he makes the push to like ask your loved ones like kind of like what are their dominating questions, because that's going to dictate some of their behavior. So why would you not want to know what they're like same thing, like what are you where are you learning? Like I want to know what you're passionate about. Why are you passionate about it? Like is it something I should be passionate about or learn about? Like, so I think asking questions, like that's like obviously a podcast is asking questions, which is why like I really, really enjoy it. But now like even in the day-to-day conversations with like my family or like friends or new doctors I'm getting introduced to, I start asking questions as fast as I can and see where it goes.
I mean, that's really a good strategy, especially when you meet people. If you're asking them questions and you show interest in whatever it is they're doing, they're going to open up to you right away.
Yeah. And it's not a hard concept.
No.
Yeah. And it's like some people got to fight the talking about themselves or like,
it's hard.
Yeah, peacocking or like I gotta look cool or like those kind of things. But the faster you get away from the ego and that perspective, and you start asking questions, and basically the more you learn, the more you don't know. Like you realize how expansive like all these avenues of training are all these like levels of history in the world. All these things that they show up that like you learn about this area, then you learn you don't know about 10 other areas. I'm reading a book on history right now. So, but yeah, so I just like, why would you not keep learning? And like, the more you learn, the less you know. So the more you get humbled and the more the ego dies. And so why would you not just keep asking questions and reading and learning all over the place? So like, that's just my little bit on why you should ask questions and be curious always.
I love it. I'll tell you, one of the things I've been like trying to, and I guess, I don't know if it's really would apply to asking other people this, but one of the things I've been trying to ask myself lately is when I'm doing something and I'm just kind of like on autopilot, I'll say like, all right, am I making good use of my time or am I wasting it? Now that doesn't necessarily mean I have to always be doing something productive work-wise or whatever, but I mean, you know, something worthwhile could be, all right, I'm just sitting and enjoying the sun or, you know, whatever. But I think that it's so easy to get sucked into these, you know, things where we, you know, spend the whole day just wasting time. You know, we get sucked into our phone, or we get, you know, just we're bored, we're doing nothing, or we just, you know, even if we are doing something productive, we're maybe mindlessly doing it instead of actually enjoying the moment and like making it worthwhile.
Yeah, I think life should be split up, and like you, that question's great. You're basically like, am I using my time or am I not? Am I being mindful or is it mindless? And I always say it with people's like Netflix choices and those kind of things. Like, is that mindful or mindless? Like, how are you spending your time? Like, and like as I coach, the more I coach, like especially like breath work, I have to like focus on consciousness. You have to be conscious of your breath, and like really in essence, you got to be conscious of everything in life. And Jordan Peterson has this really cool bit where like, if you want a meaningful life, like everything's important. Everything, like as a breath coach, I want every breath to be important. That's a great starting point. So now how I get up, like, do I hit snooze or not? Like, what's the first thing? Like, if you make every step in your day meaningful, if like every text is like, you treat it like it's the last time you're talking to them, like you can make life as meaningful as you want it to, or you can let it mindfully pass you by. And like, that's what, in essence, what your question's asking.
Right.
So like, that's where like now, like, how conscious can we be? How mindful can we be? How much can we grow? What is our potential? That's one of my questions. And like, that's the same essence, but like, even to your point where like I think like rest is massively productive. Like, so you have to know when to work and rest in this whole consciousness level too, or have like the grace, when like some days you're not going to have it. Some days you're going to be on your phone. Some days you're going to be watching Netflix. Like, that's fine. Have some grace and keep asking the question tomorrow. And it's all just like, I mean, it's subjective day to day and person to person, but like I think everybody knows what their standards are and if they're actually pursuing their potential or not. And I think that's a big question that everybody should ask themselves constantly.
Boom.
Yeah, it's not rocketry, but just to deviate a little bit, just because obviously you train and have written workout programs and books and those kind of things for a plethora of training mechanisms, whether it's wrestling, strength training and conditioning, boxing, all those things. In that world, what do you think are like the predominant traits and training methods that you favor?
Yeah. So, all right. So if we're talking about wrestling, so that's kind of like my primary niche. I mean, I work with fighters and stuff like that too, but you know, I'm the wrestling strength guy, right?
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing is you have to be strong. You talked earlier about, you know, strength. There's more situations that require strength than anything else. Yeah. So at the heart of it, you have to get stronger from an absolute standpoint. And I think in wrestling, because it is so dependent on conditioning, I think maybe up until about 10 years ago when I came on the scene, the kind of the thought process was always like, you know, circuits, let's get in shape, let's circuit train, let's, you know, high reps, endurance. And there's a place for that, but you have to get stronger. Now, that doesn't mean that if you do a bunch of circuits with tons of reps on pull-ups and all these different things that you're not going to get stronger. You will, but you still have to lift really heavy weight too. Yeah. You got to get stronger. So that's kind of the first thing. So there is kind of a almost powerlifting base, you know, to the big three lifts that we do. Now we do a lot of different variations. A lot of my guys don't back squat. We do, you know, split leg stance, you know, split squats, lunges, stuff like that. But we deadlift, we press heavy, we row heavy, you know, things like that. So that's kind of the first thing. And then obviously you have to do some accessory movements so that you're able to improve on the, you know, on those movements, right? Yeah. So we have to do things that support those big movements. And then we have to do things that kind of mimic the strength and endurance demands of, you know, whether it's wrestling, you know, combat or whatever. So we use a lot of, you know, quote unquote strongman style training for that, you know, sled work, carrying heavy things, throwing heavy things, you know, swinging things very fast, the sledgehammer, stuff like that. So we do a lot of functional stuff, med ball work, things like that. And then, then there's obviously the conditioning element on top of that. So you have to be able to, if you're very strong, but you have no aerobic base, then your strength is going to really, plummet as you wrestle, So, having kind of that very wide base, aerobic base to support all of that. And then, from an anaerobic standpoint, you have to have a high anaerobic threshold so that when you're, kind of in the heat of the moment, for lack of a better term, sprinting, and then not recovering all the way, sprinting again. We're in the hand fight. We go out of bounds. Next thing you know, you're back in and you're tied up. Now you're in on a leg and you have to finish and you have to use your strength. So that anaerobic threshold has to be very high. So we have to make sure that we've, trained in a way, through sprint work, through this strongman stuff, that you're able to kind of sprint repeatedly without true recovery between. So it's really complex because there's not a lot of sports like it where, number one, you have no timeouts essentially. You can't, I just ran a touchdown, so now I get to sit out one, right?
Yeah.
You're out there for, there's 7 minutes on the clock in a college wrestling match, and when you have the little starts and stops, it might be 10 minutes. But for 10 minutes, you're fighting. You're fighting another human being who's the same size as you, who's highly trained, and you guys both want the same thing. And that 10 minutes feels like a fucking eternity. So we have to make sure that they're strong, that they can hold up over the course of that 10 minutes, and that their mind is not going to panic when they have to go to the dark place and they have to really dig deep to score points.
Yeah, hell yeah. So the build question off that, because you do get you get touched. I mean, you're coaching this entire age spectrum of that. So in some instances, you've coached them all the way through.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. How do you coach the mental side of the sport? How do you coach through the dark place?
Yeah. Well, I don't really, because I'm the strength coach, I don't really have to talk to them as much about their mindset, when they're actually in competition in the sport, on the wrestling mat. I leave that up to their actual coaches,
Yeah.
But I know that one of the things so Tervel Delagnev, who was an Olympic bronze medalist and was the one of the coaches here at Ohio State for a long time, and he's known as one of the greatest. I think he's one of the greatest minds in wrestling, and I know that's kind of his reputation. He's very smart, very analytical, and the thing that he would always stress to the athletes is for them to be able to go out on the mat and wrestle free. To wrestle free of their expectations, their doubts, their fears, to be in the moment and to be able to compete and do what they've been trained their whole life to do. So that was kind of the thing he would always talk about wrestling free. But as far as the way I coach them, my guys in the gym, is to really, number one, to not be scared of discomfort, which we've already touched on. And number two, I try to get, especially the younger athletes, to realize whatever their goals and aspirations are, you got a high school kid that wants to be a state champ, or maybe even, he's not to that level yet and he wants to have a winning record next year, or wants to make varsity or whatever. I just always tell them hey, the way you are conducting yourself, if someone was watching you and didn't know you, they're just watching this video, would they think, oh man, that kid's going to be a state champ, or this kid's working to make varsity, or this kid's going to wrestle at Ohio State someday? Kyle Snyder, who I coached when he was in college, and he was Olympic gold medalist, world gold medalist, all that stuff, multiple time NCAA champ. But one of his things that he would always say is, if someone could follow you around for 24 hours and you couldn't talk, would they be able to guess what your goals are? And he would say, if someone watched me for 24 hours, they would know that my goal is to be the Olympic champion, And I think if you can't look in the mirror and say that, then you're not working hard enough. Then you're not trying hard enough. So whatever it is, whether it's the kid that wants to be a state champion or wants to wrestle at a D1 level someday, and it's not just about what we do in the weight room.
Yeah.
It's not just about that hour and a half I have them 3 days a week. It's about how they eat. It's about, are they getting enough sleep? Are they spending time doing things that are, detrimental to their overall development?
Yeah.
Are they respectful to their girlfriend? Are they nice to their parents? Do they treat people with respect in the checkout line at Kroger? Those type of things I think are important, because I think if you want to be, I've been around a lot of outstanding individuals, and, I've never been around an outstanding individual that's rude to the checkout girl at Kroger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kyle Snyder, the Olympic champion, it does not mouth off to the girl that works at Kroger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Tom Ryan, head coach at Ohio State, he is respectful to his wife. He's nice to his children. Those type of things. So I think, you have to kind of look at, as an athlete, especially for these young athletes, I try to, get them to look at their life as a whole and think like, all right, what type of person do I want to be? All right, I want to be a champion. That means more than just getting good at wrestling moves.
Yeah.
That means more than just deadlifting a lot. And it's been really cool to see, now I've been doing it so long, I'll get, kids that'll reach out to me that are, maybe in their mid-20s and they start a family, and they'll say stuff like, Coach, you had such a big impact on me. My career is doing so good. And, now my wife is pregnant with her first child. I want to be the type of father that you are, things like that.
Hell yeah.
So those type of things, I mean, it feels great to help kids get on top of the podium. But when I hear those type of things, it feels, even better.
Yeah, it's the fulfillment of the quality coaching.
Right.
But like that, but the mental skill, like, so same thing as like my wife and kids are on the top of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a mental skill that bleeds into the rest of life too. Like what if a camera was following me around, like what would they see? I think that's powerful as fuck.
Right.
I think that's really cool. And like, cause like I try and, what's a good way to say it? Like I try and like translate like the NFL life to somebody, and like the accountability that happens, and like literally like every step we take on film is criticized and watched. And like, so I try and just, in the work sense, like what happens if at work you had to explain every time you picked up your phone what you did with it, or every email you sent, every word choice. Like that's like, I try and break it down to that point. Like that's the level of accountability and like the stress to perform that can show up, and it can either make you really fine-tuned and dialed, or it can break you. And I've seen it go both ways and that kind of thing. But like, I really like the mental skill of like because you can create like your own camera squad if you really want to, and generate your own accountability. Like that's how powerful the mind is. Like, so like I like tangible skills where you can just say, and like maybe that becomes somebody's question. Like, what if a camera crew is following me around right now? What would they think?
Yeah. Okay,
I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna do this workout. I'm gonna finish this way. Whatever. I like that a lot.
Yeah, maybe it's something as simple as, I guess in the NFL, it's because you're under the microscope and the organization is always watching everything you do and how you conduct yourself. Yeah. But maybe for young athletes, it's something as simple as like every time you're about to do something, what would my coach think right now? Yeah. Or what would my dad think if I do this? Or, what would my mom have to say about what I'm doing right now on my phone?
Which is a really powerful question for a kid,
right?
Just because like I think as much perspective shift is like with the stimulation and the distraction they have already, they need like, again, like a lighthouse or a beacon that keeps them on the right path. And maybe it's questions. I like that a lot. And then, so in that same world, since you already talked about Kyle, what have you observed from the pros that you train, like the Colin Moores, the Matt Browns, yep, Tommy, like all those guys? What have you taken from them?
Yeah, I think, kind of the big separator between guys like, Colin Moore, Matt Brown, these guys that are very elite at what they do, compared to, maybe, I think maybe the important thing to understand is that ability and talent is very plentiful. Right? There's tons of people that are good at wrestling. There's tons of people that are good at football. But the people that I think really excel at an elite level, they don't leave things up to chance. Meaning they don't wake up and just think, all right, it's Tuesday. Now I'm going to just go throughout my day and see what happens. They know what time they're supposed to eat. They at least know where they're eating at. They know, where they have to be, what time they have to be there, and how long it takes to get there. They know who they're going to talk to during the day. They know what tasks they have to complete. So I think that, especially what I've noticed with college athletes is the ones who excel in that system down there. You got a room full of guys that were all the best of the best at their high school when you're training in a place like Ohio State. Every one of those guys were the shit in whatever little high school they were from,
Yeah.
But they don't all make the lineup. They don't all become All-Americans. And some of them with the best credentials end up being guys you never heard of at the college level. So what separates is the guys that are elite, they don't leave anything up to chance. They do all the little things right. They hold themselves accountable. And when that compounds over time, over, year 1, year 2, year 3, by year 4, year 5, you have a guy like Colin Moore, who's now elite at the international level.
Yeah, it's an intentional long-term game.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's the power of a day.
Right.
It's the intent. It's intention and consciousness, awareness. I love that side of high performers, because like a lot of that stuff is boring. Like being successful, being consistent. Like the recipe for greatness is very boring, but it's such a massive separator. It's like the James Clear 1% mathematics on like getting 1% better every day, or 1% more dialed. Like you eventually, if you do it every day, like you end up at like 300 some percent. If you get 1% worse every day, you like zero out in a span of a year. And like if people can, I guess, articulate that to themselves or make it like a conscious, tangible thing, like I think it's incredibly powerful.
I mean, it's such a simple concept to just try to improve every day.
Yeah.
You know? Again, and I use it. I mean, going back to the weight room, I tell my kids that because they're not gonna move up on the bench every week. They're not gonna deadlift more every week. Or else, if you deadlifted more every single week, then in 3 or 4 years they'd be deadlifting 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So I try to get them to focus on like, okay, like you didn't move up on deadlift this week, but let's get better. Let's get our technique better. Let's move up on our accessories. Let's be able to run faster with the sled. Let's try to make sure our nutrition was better. Whatever it is, we can still keep improving, even if it's not maybe that big number that we've been chasing for a long time.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that takes some self-awareness in that sense too. But the wrestling world, just because you guys use both the energy systems, and then like it is this balance between strength, technique, skill, like all these things that obviously like nutrition and recovery on top of all those things too, where it's like I've been reading special forces books as of late, and like strength without skill and like strength that doesn't last the right amount of time. Like it's a very delicate balance. So but I like the perspective on, like if everybody kept getting better, like eventually everybody would deadlift 1,000 pounds, but like life doesn't work like that. Training doesn't work like that. You plateau, you have literal anatomical restrictions on certain things and all those kinds of biological restrictions on type of things. So like the acceptance of like kind of the ebb and flow of training and optimal performance, like I mean that's what like toughness is, like because like wrestling is one of the toughest sports, one of the most mentally tough sports in my opinion. So basically toughness is like the ability to handle all those setbacks or those plateaus and keep pushing. So I think that your awareness on that to coach a kid to get better 10 different places or sleep better, whatever ends up being, is a great way to instill that really young. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if you can teach kids to work hard, to value hard work, and to be conscious of trying to improve in multiple areas of their life, then they're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether or not they become a state champion, I mean that's kind of secondary.
Yeah, but like if you can get those characteristics instilled, like that's
absolutely.
Yeah, and say their parents got to love you for it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to.
I think maybe the fact that I've done such a good job with that, the parents look past the fact that I cuss to the kids and we listen to Wu-Tang and all this stuff.
That's culture. Your culture.
Yeah, that's the culture here. So I think it's kind of give and take. It's not. The language really isn't PG-13. I also too this is kind of a side note, but I've told parents this before. I've said, look, just so you know, like if your kid says the F word, I'm fine with that. Like I'm going to treat them like an adult because I'm going to expect a lot of them as an adult. So part of that is there's going to be some locker room talk and they're going to cuss. It's not going to be, I'm not going to let them be disrespectful to others. But if they're going to be like, if they want to yell fuck before they pull a big deadlift, I don't care if they're 12 years old, because to me, that's not important. It's not, doesn't show bad character. I said, and we're going to listen to, we're going to listen to Tupac and whatever else we listen to in here. I said, but the trade-off is, I'm going to get them to work hard and, teach them how to be good young men, but I'm not going to micromanage these little rules that I don't feel is really that important.
Yeah. No sitting down, no earrings in, whatever ends up being. A lot of strength coaches will incorporate that. No, I like that. I think from what I've read, cussing shows higher IQ anyways. So
I'm good with that for sure.
Yeah, so it works out. But dude, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Yeah. I appreciate you hopping on. Where can people find you? So
the easiest place is probably Instagram at Coach Myers _gut-check.
Boom. Where did the gut check nickname come from? So before we sign off here.
Yeah, I think it was when I first started really getting into the conditioning work down at Ohio State, and I was kind of searching for. I originally started calling my brand of training. I called it DFit because kind of after CrossFit, that was when CrossFit started getting big. So at first I was trying to brand as defib, but it just didn't really seem right. And I can't remember who first said it, but someone said like, man, that was really a gut check. And I was like, yeah, that is. It's like the gut check. You're finding out what you're made if you got guts or not.
Yeah.
You know, and then I think around that same time, I saw a Prefontaine quote. And it said, man, I can't remember the exact quote. Something like, I may not run the fastest. I don't know. Some people run the race to see who's the fastest. I run the race to see who has the most guts.
Yeah, yeah, dude. He says it. He says a variant of that too at the end of.
I might have butchered it, but it's something like that.
It's the same concept, but he goes. He wants to make the race about guts as opposed to like who's the fastest.
Yes.
And he goes. I'll win that every time.
Well, I read that, and again, this was probably 10, 12 years ago or whatever, and I thought I'm not. Yeah, I mean I'm smart and I'm strong or whatever, but it's like compared to what? I'm not anything special. But if I can make this game of life about guts, then I'm going to be hard to stop because I know I got guts.
Yeah. And then there's a lot worse things to be the best at,
Right.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Just
gut check, baby.
Yeah, that's what I, but yeah, appreciate you, man. Thank you. Boom.